Hi there guys, I hope all of you had a profitable week. Now my hope is based off two reasons. The first reason is the weekly plan. It was crisp, it was precise. Where if you look at your bottom left, I have put in that extract where it says the focus will be on last week's upper distribution, that is 5052, 5124. Then I exactly tell you what to expect, that is balance or consolidation, since it was trending up into Friday, correct? Remember that Nvidia gap up, it trended, which means some form of consolidation was expected. And thereafter what I tell you is that if that consolidation does indeed materialize, that is indicating buyers' strength. Don't take that consolidation as bearish, because we are holding the upper distribution of last week. Precisely what happened Monday to Thursday, we consolidated only to break out on Friday. So your theme for the week had to be very simple. You want to buy the dips as your core position, and any shorts that you're exploring needs to be a scalp. And the reason for that is because the trend is up unless otherwise proven. Now, the next bit is, the second reason for me to have that hope is the 6 recordings I have so far shared exclusively with the members of the EdgebyRS Academy. All those 6 clips, if you go back and watch them again, after of course watching this one, you will realize that my process, it can be replicated easily. I observe the same 4 or 5 elements. I form the same kind of story each session, whether that's for the week, whether that is for the intraday session. And my execution, trade management, and analysis, all of this is built upon that very foundation that I keep talking about. Now I understand some of you may be like, oh, this is another repeat. But here's the thing, guys. When you keep repeating the same thing, that is when you get good at it. I still don't know anyone who does something once or twice and gets good at it. You need to repeat it and repeat it maybe thousands of times before you're actually good at it. And when I say good at it, what I actually mean is when you are in sync with the markets. When you can read how I read, or maybe even better than me. And that's the ultimate goal, whereby you need to build that story. You should be able to understand, and the only way you can do it when everything is easily replicable as well as repeatable, right? It's very, very important, and once again, that is my emphasis. Of course, along the way, I'm always going to, introduce certain new elements so that you are advancing in your learning journey, but at the same time, the 90% has to focus on repeating the process. Okay, now these 2 reasons meant that all you guys should have had a profitable week without much trouble. But like we all know, nothing is rosy, and this is why we have these session insights, so that you can understand each day on its merit. And when something similar repeats in form of structure like this, right? Like my weekly plan. I gave you the zone, right? The upper distribution, which is of interest. I exactly told you the structure, and I told you what the action would mean. Now, it's very important to understand what zone you're looking at, what structure you're looking at, and what it actually means. Because once you understand these 3 foundational elements of a plan, then navigating within becomes pretty simple. Right? And this is what you get from me. This is what guys at Discord get from me every single day. Simple. So with that in mind, and of course a sort of a disclaimer, if you may, all trades that I'm going to talk about are not at all hindsight. Folks who are part of my Discord have seen me call those trades out live this week, or I placed my automatic zones over there. So nothing that I speak is ever hindsight. In fact, anything that I do is pure foresight because members have it ahead of time and not after. Okay, so with that clarity, and of course I can't put all those screenshots like I just did this one. I can't fill my chart with screenshots. It has to be with something more insightful. And of course, if you still want to see my trades, if you're part of Discord, scroll back. And if you're part of my Twitter, you're following me, then all my trades are posted there every single day. So with that out of the way, let's get down to Monday. On Monday, I had marked 5108, 5112 as my opening pivot or initial resistance. Now, why did I pick this zone? It's very important apart from the results that you see, 25 points, very good. But what's important is how I got down to that level. So very simple. This is my daily profile chart that I post in Discord every day ahead of the session open. But very clear, on Thursday, we had the upper distribution. And on Friday, we had Friday's lower distribution. Now, this is what I identify as overlapping distributions, which means this micro range of 5092 and 5112 become extremely important to guide my intraday bias. Now, as soon as we come online on Monday, before which, observe how the value area high of Thursday is at 5107 and the value area high of Friday is at 5112, which meant I had the perfect pivot identified given the overlap. And given that Friday's close was weak, how do I say weak? Please don't, again, it's not bearish or something. It's just a weak close because it closed near the lows of the day. And the fact that the session thereafter held pretty much under throughout Asia and European session, it meant that definitely this is a resistance to watch. Now, of course, yes, we can definitely break out, but at least on first test, at this overlapping distribution top and the value area that is also overlapping, I expected some resistance early on, and that worked really well. And the reason for expecting that resistance is that not only is this the overlapping distribution or the value area high, we also had the single prints from Thursday left behind. Now, given that my expectations on via the weekly plan was very clear on Sunday, that I was expecting some sort of consolidation and balance, which meant the odds of a breakout on Monday first thing was really unlikely in my books. And is why I wanted to short for those single prints, and we secured good 25 points. Now, anytime, as you guys would have already recognized, that anytime I do take a short, I always look for the nearest magnet. In this case, the magnet was at those single prints at 5080s. So you know your magnet, you know your entry, you know why you're entering, you know the structure, you know the context now, and there you go. Pulling that trigger becomes simpler. Now, the thing that I always do is I always try to find these micro ranges. So the bigger ranges are always clear to us, right? About 70 point ranges, 52 to 124. And now I'm trying to find something micro, which I did, because the reason is the fundamentals of market is it rotates, right? There has to be a breakout, rotation, breakout, rotation. Now, of course, when I say breakout, it's essentially a break, right? Could be to the downside, could be to the upside, but break, rotation, break, rotation. Now, if rotation is broadly the theme always, if you can find the right edges of any given range, then holding your trades for a little longer becomes possible. Like we did here, we shorted at the top, right, pretty much at the top, 5108, 5112, which is the top of this distribution, the micro one, let's call it this way. Now we shorted, and what was my magnet? The first is bottom of the distribution, of course, at 92, right? So it could be 92, 94, if you may, right? At 96, we've got the value area low of Friday. So clearly, between 92 to 96 could be your first magnet. Good 12 points or so. And then kicks in your runners for this target, which are those single prints. So now you have the context, you have the range to observe for a rotation, and there you go. You got your successful first trade on Monday. Zero noise. This is something which we called live on Monday and played out exactly as expected. Now, you want to also observe how the EU high as well as the Asia session both barely managed to get to the top, which meant that continuation of a rally was really unlikely. Otherwise, Asia and Europe would have shown signs. Now, you may wonder what sort of signs. Now, wait for it. When you watch my clip, Friday's session, which I reviewed it and I'll be posting it, you'll find it on YouTube. You will realize the difference that Asia and European ranges make. Anyhow, moving forward, one thing you all want to be aware about, not every value area highs or lows can be resistance or support. There has to be wider structure, wider context to support it, like we had over here. Now, my work involves a lot of confluence. Now, that confluence is something that, so as I was saying, not every value area high or low is support or resistance. My work, of course, involves a lot of confluence, and through that confluence, I'm able to solidify or strengthen a given zone. Now, these are advanced topics. Over the course of next few months, next few months, I will be introducing you to them, but until then, focus on the basics, because trust me, if you get the basics right, if you get that thought process right, that's 80% of the battle. Everything else is 20%. So that said, again, what happened on Monday? We again closed at session lows. Whenever we close at session lows, it is indicative of some form of underlying weakness. Again, strictly on intraday basis, we were still above the upper distribution, which meant there's absolutely no reason for you to be bearish beyond those smaller time frame intraday moves. Thereafter, it became pretty straightforward for me. Is that we pretty much once again formed the EU high at 87.92. Now, why 87.92? Simple reason. We broke below it on Monday, which meant the bottom of the balance is by default now resistance. Not only is this resistance here, but we are now also below Friday's low. We are below the overlapping distribution broadly, which meant this is now the most important region. And I've just got the point of control above at 94, which meant on first test, I could really expect a decent response and something that indeed we witnessed at the open, which rotated all the way down into 67.72. Now, look at the importance of 67. This is something that has been on my chart all week since Monday. This is last week's high, Y low, right? Already marked here why this is important. And exactly where we had our support zone marked. If you guys were following me on Twitter, I in fact shared this entire range. All I said is, guys, these two edges are extremely important, which is from 5064 all the way to 5072 and 5087.92. Whenever this range breaks, trend is in that direction. Precisely what happened, but for the next 2 days, we broadly kept balancing off at or within those ranges. So we really didn't have much work to do apart from enjoy this rotation. Now, here's the thing. How would you know that this is going to be balancing again? Very simple, guys. Why exactly are we breaking out or down when PCE is due to release on Thursday? Which meant Wednesday session, and we are back at those edges of importance. The only time your bias must shift is when those edges either fail to the downside or find acceptance above. Because whenever that happens, you already know that you want to trade the game. Sorry, you want to play the game of rotation or trade those rotations. Now observe, and this is going to be the most critical element over here. PCE release. You remember when we spoke about Nvidia earnings last week? What did I tell you guys? That ahead of the event, markets rotated all the way to the bottom, rotated all the way down to 49.57.62, which is where we had the overlapping value area low. Correct? And what did I tell you? We want to buy cheap, sell expensive. Because the week prior to that, we were above the value area high, ahead of the CPI, and that resulted in a massive flush instead. So, given those dynamics, we applied the same rules. Look at the value area low of the upper distribution. It is exactly at 5,081. It is the same upper distribution I've been talking about, 52 to 124. And 81 is the value area low of that upper distribution. Also, what's important to note is the value area low of the last two sessions, which is Tuesday and Wednesday, also were both at 5,072. Now, ahead of the release, ES was trading at give or take 65, which means it was below the value area of the upper distribution as well as Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, that is called buying cheap. And this is the exact same point when I called out long at 5,069. Literally the same second of the release. I have shared the screenshot of the post in Friday's session review. If you watch it, you will see it there. For guys, of course, in Discord already know it. I called it out live instantly, and there you go. You had a very, very good 30-point pop. Now observe here, right? Just be with me. So, ahead of the event, they take it to bargain levels, right? Below the value area, across board. That's bargain. We picked up the bargain. And what happens on Thursday? We pop 30 points. And now what becomes critical to observe, and something that will give you clues for the following session, why I expected the Friday rally, again something I shared on Twitter already, that if we hold 5,098 broadly is when I would be confident of a Friday RTH upside continuation. So observe what happens. We come exactly down to 72. What's at 72, guys? The value area low of Wednesday. So ask yourself, ES rotated higher, okay, about give or take rejected this same region, flushes lower, and now finds buyers again at 72. Now clearly not everyone participated in this pump, which means markets typically tend to give you second opportunity, and they did by coming down to value area low. Now at that point, you may ask, okay RS, how do we know that we need to go long at 72? Good question. Let's just recognize the fact that it is your support level. Okay, that's the first recognition. Recognition number 2. Upon event release, if it actually pumped plus held for 30 full minutes, that is not bearish, that is bullish. So which meant any retrace that you see back to the scene of crime, which is where the pump took place, by default becomes a buying opportunity on first test. Of course, the same idea vice versa to the downside. So as your homework, let's see this, yeah? as your homework, go back, study the NVIDIA release. Okay, now the difference there is that it was after hours, which meant that you had to still wait for to observe what happens in RTH. But trust me, if you truly understood what I'm saying here, you can apply the same thing with NVIDIA earnings, as well as go back to CPI and observe what happened there. It was a large gap, so it took some time to consolidate, but again, the same behavior was seen, which is broke lower, continued lower, NVIDIA broke higher, continued higher. Both of them, which is the move down in CPI or the move up post earnings, gave good opportunity at the edges to participate. So this is your homework. Go back, do that homework, send me an email, send me a message on Twitter. Happy to help, but you should be able to see the commonalities between all three events. So in this case, this one retraced back to 72 value area low. This has been my support. Like I said, it's been there on Twitter, been there on Discord. I've been on about it, how important this zone is. And there you go, you had another rally. But now observe, guys, Friday and Monday closed near session lows. Tuesday was below that overlapping distribution. But look and Wednesday, of course, was continued consolidation as we expect ahead of any event, because that's the wait and watch mode. But look what happens the next day, guys. We end the day with a spike up, and that means we closed near the highs of the day. Now that's your first and major character change that you observed, and is why I stated explicitly on Twitter, on Discord. Again, you will see this, just review my Twitter, you will find that tweet. Explicitly I said, if we broadly hold 5,098, Friday RTH continues to rally. You had a breakout worth 40 points. And why did I say that? Because of the change of character. Why did I say that? Because they were not willing to stay below the value area lows. All they did is Monday to Thursday, despite the event. Please remember, if there had to be a breakdown, if at all, it had to be driven by this event. PCE did not happen. In fact, it closed at the highs of the day. Had it closed at the lows of the day, trust me, I would have a very different view. But the fact they closed a high of the day and that resulted in a spike, the deal was more or less sealed for me that a Friday rally was there. So I hope so far, in these 23 minutes, you've realized how I formed a story on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then how I put them all together for Thursday, and once Thursday session ended, the puzzle was complete and we knew what to expect on Friday. That's a rally and precisely what we got. But now just observe this, right? Look at this. We had the Europeans, which is the London session, test my pivot, 87.92. Why? Because this breakout was being confirmed, right? This spike up needed to be validated. Like anytime, I always tell you guys, and I've said this before in some of my recordings, I don't remember which one, that any spike down or spike up needs to be validated by both Asia and London. If that happens, only then you may follow, apply those spike rules very successfully, because Asia and London needs to find some form of acceptance. And look what happens here. We find acceptance back above this micro distribution of 92 during the London hours. Of course, my profile chart is just RTH, so you won't see it here. But again, observe here, we have held it to perfection. And then that resulted in the reclaim of 5,098. Now you may wonder, what is 5,098? This is the 30-minute release range of PCE, right? That's the 30-minute bar that we are tracking, which is from 5,067 to 5,098. So if there has to be any form of continuation to the upside, I want to see 98 broadly hold. Now, why do I use the term broadly? Very simple. I don't mind it giving 5 points, 7 points, sort of a range to maneuver, because that is what can be expected. But broadly, if it holds, and which means we are breaking higher. And precisely what happened, 98 back tested, held, and ever since then it was just one way up. Again, I've explained this entire Friday session, so I won't repeat myself. But what important note to take away is that how Thursday ended, how London validated the break inside, right? Because this was the break seen in the last 30 minutes. How London validated the break inside this distribution, inside this micro distribution, back tested, reclaimed 98, and continued on its way up. So guys, that's how you use the merged profile. Observe, I did not merge Monday to Friday. I merged Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday here. Thursday and Friday were merged separately, which means I truly get to know the correct value area I want to observe. Had I merged it in full, which is from Monday to Friday, I would have a very different value area, very different contextual awareness, and I would have maybe traded differently. So this is very important, when and how to split a profile, when and how to merge the profile. So I will be talking about this in depth, maybe not today because we are nearing those 30 minutes now, but if you're keen, this is your homework again. Observe, I've already put these titles here: Thursday, Friday merged, Monday, Wednesday merged. I've exactly told you when, where, and how I have merged them, and that means you want to learn from those, ask those whys, and start working on it. Of course, you need my help, come back to me, but I may conduct another recording very, very soon talking about profiles, but that may be still a few weeks away. That said, now let's just observe here. Of course, it's going to be part of my weekly plan, but while we are at it, just observe here. This is a merged profile, again, Monday to Thursday. Why Monday to Thursday? Because we consolidated in that period. And where did we break out? When did we break out? On Friday. Now, Friday will be the single profile I observe, and then this is the merged profile. And what do I know? That from 97 all the way to 5120, important, right? An important micro range within the two distributions. Now, why is 5120 important? Again, we just have, sorry, this is a wrong extension, at 5124. So what we know at 5120 and 5124, think rotation again, is now support. That breaks, we've broken back inside the upper distribution, and of course that may be because we still need to fill or test this value area high, right? So we can expect that. And also remember, 5090s or 5080s did not get an RTH test post breakout, which means that we could expect another retest during RTH. And with NFB still on Friday, what our market is going to do between Monday to Thursday is the question you want to ask yourself. Now, this is food for thought. Keep churning your brains. Work through this. Try drafting a plan. You will have my weekly anyways on Sunday. But until then, I've left you with something to consider, to ponder upon. Again, this is very important. This split here will be extremely critical to understand rotation. So a quick highlight on rotation, if at all you guys are still wondering. 5120, 5124 breaks. We go all the way to 90s, back tested. 90s fail. Now we are talking about going back to 51. Because why 90 failure will indicate that we are really coming back down? Because then what it would mean is that this PCE post breakout couldn't sustain for whatever reason, which means if we really come back inside this PCE 30-minute bar range, which is from 67 to 98, and break down this pivot here, that's it, then likely we want to explore the interest lower. So of course, there will be a lot of MGI available. There will be my weekly plan to guide you. But again, what I have just showed you is, in the last 27 odd minutes, what I've taught you, what I've walked you through is exactly, I've applied those same things in brief, of course, into what next week, or how I can use the information of the current week and Friday into actionable plan next week. So that's all from me, guys. I really hope that this was helpful. And again, if you have any questions, you can come back to me. You have my email address, you have my Twitter handle. For guys who are outside of Discord, and guys who are in Discord, just drop me a DM. Okay, that's it from me. You guys enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you back on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.